Private equity in fashion has a really bad reputation, but Bain Capital doesn't randomly buy brands. There's a very deliberate playbook here. Firstly, let's make an important clarification because this always gets confused, even by me sometimes, to be fair. So, Bain Capital is not Bain and Company. They're completely separate businesses. Bain and Company is, of course, a management consultancy. That said, Bain Capital was founded by people historically connected to Bain and Company, which is why people consistently conflate the two. Anyway, whilst most management consultancies don't buy brands outright, private equity firms with heavy ex-consultant DNA absolutely exist across this industry. And just to be clear, private equity simply means investment firms that buy significant stakes in companies, usually private ones, with the goal, of course, of improving how they operate and eventually exiting at a much higher value. The consulting approach shows up everywhere in private equity, to be honest, in their systems, in their margins, in their channel mix, operational discipline, you name it, even when the firm itself isn't literally a consultancy. So, what does that look like in our game of fashion? Well, sorry to say, but Bain Capital doesn't buy fashion. It buys brands with a business model underneath. So let's look at Canada Goose. Bain bought a majority stake in 2013 and helped turn the brand, which was a functional outerwear business, into a global luxury brand. One hero category, real pricing power, and a major shift towards direct to consumer. And that was proper structural makeover. Now, the same logic applies to other Bain bets, right? From Tom's to the more recently, the Korean activewear brand called Andar, where the common thread is always a clear product truth, margin headroom, and scalable operations. Now, if you want a clean comparative in fashion specifically, we can also look at Catterton. Now, Catterton is arguably the most specialized brand building private equity machine in luxury and fashion. But something worth noting is Catterton is not independent. It is strategically backed by LVMH alongside the Arnold Group and the original Catterton founders. And that's important because it gives Catterton something unique: capital plus unparalleled access to the world-class luxury retail, manufacturing, and brand building infrastructure that LVMH is responsible for. A great example is its backing of Birkenstock through to IPO, which was a textbook example of how private equity and luxury ecosystems intersect. So what's the real insight here? I would say private equity isn't good or bad for fashion. It's merely a tool. If your brand has real product truth, margin headroom, pricing power, and the potential to scale directly to consumers, then private equity can scale it beautifully. And if it doesn't, it means your brand could be low margin or stock heavy or creatively complex with no pricing leverage. And in that scenario, private equity debt will turn it into a ticking time bomb. So as always, a learning for designers and upcoming brands, and of course the nascent ones. Private equity isn't about buying taste. It's about buying repeatable economics wrapped in the prettiest brand bow. And in the coming days, I'll probably do another video breakdown of exactly when private equity wins and when it destroys fashion brands. Of course, if that's of interest, do let me know, please, in the comments. I'm Jalil, and this is how fashion really works.